Greetings. Greetings. Today is August 20th, 2025. Write this day down. This is Conversation with Tony Mobley. And my special guest today is my friend N. Liberty White, an AI specialist, a creator, a podcaster, and a STEM mentor. We are powered by Mule Live. I want to thank the team behind Conversation with Tony Mobley. This conversation can be viewed on YouTube as well as conversationwithtonymobley.com. We have you can ask your questions in our chat in YouTube as well as our Mukana courtesy of Alex Lindsay. The difference between YouTube and Mukana is that in Mukana, your question can be voted up and down, and there's an opportunity to make sure that your question is answered today. So without further ado, we're going to get right into it today because we got a lot to do today. And so the very first question is, hello, Liberty White, and who is Liberty White? Who are
Well,
you?
that before I even get there, I just want to say hi, everybody. Thank you, Tony. Thank you to the whole Conversations with Tony Mobley crew. I don't even know what episode of me being on here, but I'm just so happy that you keep inviting me back. Who is Liberty White? Liberty White is first and foremost a woman, a mom, a entrepreneur. So running a business, I run Chosen Media, which is like over 15 years. In the last 3 years, though, there's been a greater focus on artificial intelligence and the training that goes with that. And that is, and I know we'll get into it a little bit later, but really helping to upskill and reskill the current and next generation and just in how to be able to equip them so that they're not left behind with all of this shift in technology. And then also in that was birthed out of She Learns AI. And that is the platform that we're building to help women to ensure that they've got the skills necessary for the jobs of the future.
Fantastic. Um, we got so many things to talk about.
So
Um,
much to talk
I,
about.
I really wanted to get into the questions, but I think you have some things to share with us in terms of your experience this summer.
I do. So I hope this works out. Oh, okay. Shout out to Ronnie for helping me to kind of rejig my setup here because I want to do more like with us doing all the training. And when you think of platforms like YouTube, you know, you've been on YouTube for a very long time. So I'm trying to see if I can catch up with you, Tony. But being able, when people are looking for, it's really a search engine. People look for whether it be podcasts or tutorials or inspirational shows like this. So, since we do so much training, and when people are trying to, like YouTube University, people are looking to just figure out, okay, where do I begin? How do I, whether it be prompt engineering, building agents, custom GPTs, or along the lines of just for the marketing world. So, just putting out more content there. So, bear with me. Let's see if I can get some photos together from our most recent trip to Cannes. So with women and AI features, let me know if you can if that comes up okay on your screen. Are you able
Yes, we
to?
see it.
Yeah, awesome. So She Learns AI. Just going backstory. So for those of you who don't know, last year during Women's History Month, I launched this campaign to get like just knowing the data. At that time, the World Economic Forum had says that when it comes to artificial intelligence, 53% of men, 54% of men typically will try the new tools, and we see that on office hours. Whenever something comes out, there people are throwing in the chat, how do you have you tried this, have you done that? But when you look at the demographics, then the number is 35% of women. So when I saw that, I was like, well, what can I I do? I'm a problem solver. So what can I do? Knowing the platform I have, knowing the things that I'm involved with, and that's where the challenge came up. So fast forward a year later, in Atlanta, we did Women in AI Futures Week. So it's an entire week of workshops and panels and hands-on skilling. So that was March. And then almost 90 days later, what you're seeing here is we're in France. So we brought a delegation to France for Cannes, the International Lions Festival, and we actually had a villa in France where we had, again, Cannes is a little different for those of you who know. It's the premier place for advertising marketing, the one that happens in
We're
June.
not seeing Liberty.
Oh,
We're not
yeah.
seeing the pictures. We're just seeing your. We're seeing your computer.
You're seeing my computer. Oh, thank you for saying that. So that means I'm probably sharing the wrong screen. So let's back that up and let's try that again. It should have been desktop two over there. So let me know now if you
Yes.
see photos.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So you see photos now. Okay, so just then recapping recapping that this is part of our delegation that went to France. And so we were there for the Cannes Lions Festival, but a lot of groups and brands will do different activations while they're there. So we had a Women in AI Futures Villa. And so not only did we bring a group of entrepreneurs and culturalists from the US. So not only in Atlanta, but there were other people from just across the United States who came with us as well. In the United States, Canada, who came with us as well. So this is that group there. While we were there, we also hosted dinner. So this is Dr. Anino Emwa, and she's the founder of 100 Women of Davos. So for those of you who are familiar with the World Economic Forum, once again, in Davos in Switzerland, they have each year they have this is where all the brilliant minds of the world go to figure out what's next, climate change, all of the the pressing issues that really make up our world, and how to combat them, deal with them. So she launched 100 Women of Davos, and so now this is very much, it was like this was probably one of the highlights of the trip, one, to be able to just access someone like that. And let me see, so this is just the beginning of the night for the dinner that we held over there. So to be able to create a space, an opportunity for other women to be in proximity to someone like her, and she like spent the entire evening with us and just sharing not only her origin stories but what's next. We got a chance to ask her questions, so that was definitely, again, again, a highlight. And then moving forward here, this is the founder of the Female Quotient, and one of, if I'm thinking of the statistic correctly, one of the oops. Hopefully, I gotta move that out of the way. One of the largest women entrepreneur business organizations across social media, just having the biggest footprint. So again, just proximity and being able to be there. They as well have they host a house as well, and this is actually going back to the dinner we had. We also hosted various conversations at our house as well, because that's very much the presence and the sentiments of Can. There's me just overlooking. I don't even know what ocean that that is, but just on the Quaset, that's where a lot of, like, so if you look down here, you've got Microsoft, you've got Meta, like they're all along the Quaset. And I will wrap up with those who may be familiar with this gentleman in the background. That is D Nice. So during quarantine, that was when, and knowing that even with office hours coming out of coming out of COVID and this that time of quarantining. Well, on the music and in the entertainment side of things, that he was one of the artists that would go live. And as a DJ, he's so much more than that, DJ, producer, etc. But he would go live, and that's where the name Club Quarantine came from. And just getting a chance to be at the Microsoft Pavilion and him sharing his story and how, in the midst of even us having this conversation around AI, just how important community is in that, because he had, and just quickly sharing D Nice's story, he was just sharing how he had moved from New York to California, and he was supposed to be working with Ava DuVernay. COVID happens, changes everything. He's now in a place where he has no family, so he's on his own. So by going live and just sharing his skill sets, being music and DJing, and by going live, creating community virtually, and it completely changed the trajectory of his life. So had he not stepped out of his comfort zone to do that, we wouldn't, many people wouldn't know who he is today. So,
Absolutely. That's
yeah,
fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that.
you're welcome.
Um, some of those faces look familiar. In that first photo, can you just mention just a few of those names?
Oh yeah. So let me go back and just even remember, in the first one. So you may, and for those who are either in the AI space or just communications marketing overall, we've got Cynthia Respert, and she is the founder of the AI Built Her Academy. We've got Natalie Black. She's the founder of Culture by Curate. Then there is myself, and I'm trying to think of what other one of the first ones. Those were the primary folks in there. So you might have just like seen them on LinkedIn or seen them out and about. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. It looks like it was a great time, and also I'm sure it was extremely informative. And I'm going to sort of prod you to talk a little bit more about some of those experiences that you had there because it looks it looks amazing. And
Yeah. So
I,
I
yeah,
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say that you shared some photos on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, and down the line, I hope that you will share some more of it. It looks like it was a very meaningful experience,
It really
and
was. Yeah.
yes,
It was, I think, and I know Robert had posted a question. I don't know if it was like on LinkedIn or in the YouTube comments. I'll address that a little bit more. But it was very much a transformative experience for us. One, going from having an idea and doing the Women in AI Futures Week in Atlanta first, and then an opportunity opened for us where someone attended that event and said, "Hey, I want you to bring this to Cannes." We started just very much at the beginning working with them, and it did not work out, and we had to come make a decision, like, are we going to keep going forward and doing this on our own? Because now you're when somebody brings you into a project, budgetary constraints are completely different than when you're going to go out and do it on your own. And we decided,
right,
like, just the opportunity, we put it out into the community. And even I told everyone I was okay if we didn't go. No love loss or anything in that, but we looked at the opportunity that, by the relationships that we were making by building it, and for us to create an opportunity for these other women to be able to be in proximity with some of these speakers. So Natalie Black, who was in the hat in one of the photos, she'd been to Cannes numerous times, and she shared with us. So we kind of had like an ace an ace in our back pocket with her,
hmm
and she had just really shared, like, when you are in that space, one, there's a layer of people, just, if you're here and you've made it this far, like across the ocean, across the pond, wherever you come from, is that people already know that, well, you're supposed to be here, like, so there's a level that you've already been vetted per se. And then just the experience of just walking around, meeting people, talking to people, people being so free, like even out of that experience, I've already, the rest of the year, part of the year, I'll definitely say like September is going to be very busy because of the relationships that were made from Cannes. So to your point of just saying like it just looks so amazing, it really was eye opening. I'm from Toronto. Been in the US for a really long time, and Jamaican background. So I already see myself as international, but then to be in Europe and then to just experience people from all over the world in this one concentrated space was just a whole other level. So even coming back, I've had my head down. I've had my head down restructuring and rebuilding and thinking about more international work, but then also how do I take those learnings and then continue to open doors for others?
It sounds like that it was a brain trust experience for you, and and I think that when we have those kinds of moments, there's there is something that you can't turn around. You have to go forward, and it's kind of like walls that you thought were there are no longer there because you've had this experience. It's a transformative experience, and I'm hearing that in what you shared as far as the photographs and how you talk about it. So that was a fantastic community experience. We'll talk a little bit about the community in which you grew up, and you mentioned Toronto.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the support that you had growing up. And this question is primarily for those people who may be watching that don't know who you are. Fans of Conversation with Tony Mobley and the community of Conversation with Tony Mobley know full well who you are. But for people who may not know who you are, can you just talk about that for a little bit?
I sure can, and I do want to just add a note to what you said. Is you're very much correct with you just saying like just that global community, the walls coming down. So I would even say just even thought patterns of what's possible. Like we even went into this year for She Learns AI, Women in AI Futures. When we first started planning for the week in Atlanta, it was around the idea of like just allowing women and our attendees, we have allies as well, so allowing everyone to know like what's possible. So any speaker, any workshop, we're trying to open up people's idea to the realms of what they can either do in their careers, what they can do with the technology, artificial intelligence, what they can do even relationally. So you're absolutely correct. So I just wanted to like say you articulated that so well. And then going back to just my upbringing, so my parents are Jamaican, so I'm first generation Canadian. And growing up, it very much was, I look at it, people say more, I don't hear a Canadian accent. And I'm like, well, I grew up in a Jamaican household. So you probably will hear that more, but very disciplined, very much education is extremely, I probably say this on like every conversation with Tony Mobley, but education being paramount and so important. Education, but then also manners. And I think when in the past when I've hosted on office hours or even responding to questions, like I'm very much so, even though it's an online or a virtual audience, just even acknowledging people, saying hi to people, acknowledging them in the comments, like that is just a part of, it's just not a thing that I do, that's a part of my upbringing. And how I even got into technology was based on my my mom highly encouraged me to go to the University of Toronto, so I did. And looking back, I see that I'm very much more a tactical person. So college, because university and college, it's probably changed now, but growing up, there are like two different um, entities per se. And so when this is, and I'm dating myself, but then when the internet, when the web was coming, I was like, huh, you know what? If I figure out how to make websites, I could do websites on the side while going to school. So, very much entrepreneurial at a very young age. And so, that is your, again, Quark Express for those who remember that. That
Oh
is
yeah.
Macromedia before they got
Hmm.
bought out by Adobe. And it's so interesting to see the tools Adobe has now, like Firefly, like just full circle in some of the naming. But that's really how this like technology bug came about. Had a video camera. I remember when I was in grade 8, I was the valedictorian. And I remember telling my dad, just from writing my speech, and saying, you're gonna want to get a video camera. You're gonna want to record this. So that is the media, the content side of my world, very much from a young age. But it wasn't. And I'm saying this to those who are listening who might say, I don't have professional training in XYZ. Like, look at where I am right now, and that was not from professional training per se, as much as it was putting in the reps, doing the work, having an idea, and figuring it out. Marie Forleo kind of coined this term that everything is figure outable. So now there was no YouTube University back when I was doing things. There is now, but
Yeah.
that was just asking questions, going to meetups, joining communities, asking questions, finding mentors. All of those things are a part of my upbringing, a part of how I even got to the United States, how I got from Dallas, because Dallas was the first place where I lived, Dallas to Atlanta, and now back and forth.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Um, I, the next question is, we know you are creative, but how did you get into AI?
Oh, yeah. I think it was almost like a natural, if you look at the big story arc, kind of like a natural progression. But it really was coming out of the office hours community because we were all testing. This is what, the end of 2022. And we're all testing and working in Mid-Journey, and then on the backside, and I'm talking about the consumer facing products, because we know there are other products that were doing things for a long time. ChatGPT wasn't new, OpenAI wasn't new, Otter, if for folks who have been using Otter for years, I've been using Otter for years. Those all had AI components within them, but it wasn't until the consumer facing where the everyday person could be able to do things and create and to build. So coming out of that, so that was like what, the end of November 2022, and then coming into the beginning of so Chat GPT, all the that. So I started, signed up, started toying around with it, kind of seeing some of the writing on the wall of what will happen, where people
Hmm.
are thinking, oh, I can create flyers, I can create my own thing, and I don't need the veteran creatives as much. And knowing that our business over the years has been content creation, media production, having worked with the Celebration Bowl with ESPN, having been a part of the social media team for the opening of the Smithsonian African American Museum, like being a part of all of those types of productions. And then now we've got tools that you just like, yeah, the prompt, and then boom, it comes up with a campaign. It's just like, kind of seeing some of the things that are changing and starting to make some shifts and some pivots from there. And I did a tutorial, because that's my thing. I just like to teach, so I'm always like, yeah, did you know you could do this with that? And I did a tutorial with ChatGPT, Canva, just with some automations, and it went viral, over 140,000 in, I think, about 48 or 72 hours. And this is 2023, so that's still a good number. I mean, it's still a good number today, but it's like, oh, there might be something to this to this AI, to this AI thing. And just like really, really started to dig in. So if I were to say something to my 2 year, 2, 3 year ago self, would have been like even go all in even more. Because a lot of
Yeah,
my contemporaries who were just figuring it out as they went along and documenting the process, they are some of the foremost leaders in the space now. So, but it's never too late. It's never too late to try something new.
that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's important. Um, can you talk a little bit more about the work that you were doing with young girls?
Sure. So, just over the years, let's see, I think it was even like last year. So, primarily, when you think about the uh, high school, elementary students, that is more of people asking me to come in to potentially mentor. At one point in time, and I've been on conversations with Tony Mobley to just talk about Chosen Media Kids. So, we were building out a platform to help with kids' content and just again it really is, and I feel like there's this theme already on tonight's show is just timing and looking at where the market is. And I'll go back for just 1 second just to speak to this point that when so I actually had a business originally in Toronto before moving to the United States, and it was a we did events, urban events. So we this is back when your Kirk Franklins, your Fred Hammonds, etc. And we did events for those who were spoken word artists, and in the gospel, urban gospel at that time is what it was called, market. But we were one of the first top newsletter. This is way back when you're developing newsletters, and the percent, like the just the target market, so great product, but the market and just what the market can withstand, like it wasn't something that we could necessarily, you'd still have to have per se, you'd still have to have like a full-time job, or you can only do so many events per month, versus if that kind of business was in a market like Atlanta, or like even like Dallas or New York, and just that in the startup world is called product market fit. So from knowing and understanding that to then now with Chosen Media Kids, it was like, oh, right now, just people's appetite, like you'd have to raise a lot of capital to be able to create content and or time to really break down creating content for kids and what that looks like. So that's where just taking a step back and then fast forward to all of this work happening and things happening in AI. So, yes, there's the mentorship aspect, but we're really very much more focused on the adults and making sure that when you look at the statistics of what's happening in the workforce, that making sure that parents, and specifically moms and your moms, your aunts, your caregivers, making sure that they are prepared and that they understand how to use these tools on the jobs. Because as the work as companies are looking for, oh, I can't remember the the founder's name, but Shopify, there was a big brouhaha earlier this year with the founder CEO of Shopify putting out a memo that said that no new hires until they have vetted and said the job can't be done by AI.
Wow,
That
wow.
sent ripple effects. Like I just remember was a 48-hour news cycle, and everybody talking about it, and we're seeing that's the way companies are thinking. So if that's the case, now what do you have to do to ensure that your role is not shrinking, or if it is changing, what do you need to do next? So um, that's where we really are digging our heels in to ensure that we are making sure that the workforce is ready, and helping companies too, helping this. So there's one side of it of like helping people, but then the other side of helping companies as well.
We have a comment from Equipped Institute with Florence. Hello,
Hey,
Liberty and
Florence.
Tony. Hello, Florence. Thank you, Florence, for watching and sharing your comment. Um, as you were talking, I was thinking about, I don't know how valid this is. Oh, I, Rabbi David Paskin. Okay. I missed Rabbi David Paskin said hello to Tony and Liberty. So
Hey, Rabbi.
um, thank you, sir. Um, there was a TikTok that I watched at the beginning of this week, I believe, and this was a TikTok. So I preface everything that I'm about to say that this was
Right.
on TikTok. And so this person that was speaking said that there were over 300,000 African American women who had lost their jobs um, this year so far.
Yeah.
And I guess the uplift moment in the TikTok was that the majority of them have pivoted and created their own business, which is, I think, fantastic. Now, we're just wondering, do you have any things that you want to say about the possibility of women in AI business?
Yeah, great question. There is Yolanda Davis. She used to be one of the co-founders of just one of the Black tech organizations in Atlanta, and I saw her during Atlanta Tech Week. And she's currently working on her PhD, and she's like, Liberty, there are just so many women who are talking about their roles changing and just the concern of just job security. She's like, you have what they need. And when she said that, I was one taken aback in a good way, and just that's part of what we've been really thinking about. Well, what are the ways that people can pivot? And I almost want to hold on. Let me see if my telestrator see if my telestrator is out and working. When you think about the skill sets that you have, so whether that be, are they, oops, are they administrative, are there administrative skills that you've got, or if you are someone who is also some form of like even content or marketing, because even that world is changing as well. And thinking about some, what are the gaps that, and it's interesting because it's almost like this is the same way you think about AI, of like what are the things that it can do, that the tasks that you really don't like doing very much. But what I say to the women is looking at, okay, so what are those skills that you have that you can then test the market test the market first by writing them down, or even asking other friends, so going to family and friends, and asking them, what are some of the things that you think that I'm really good at, or even doing some sort of audit of what people are always asking you for, because that's a very, very good indicator of what people will actually pay for, or what there's a need behind. And so what we're seeing a lot is that people are looking for, to switch this up, people are looking for like business operators. So looking for someone to be like a business manager, helping with your inbox, helping you just even strategize of how, because most of the founders, and I know the data for Atlanta, so most of the Atlanta being one of the top places for female founders and small businesses, but most of them are solopreneurs. So when you think about the city or the market that you're in, and them being, for the most part, being solopreneurs, solo founders, well, they've probably got other commitments as well, where they're a founder. Sure, they're a founder, so they run a business. So they're generating some income, but the data again says that not enough income to hire full time staff, but they can hire contractors. So being able to know that I have great administrative skills, I have great marketing skills, even if it is more, you have like labor type skills, but just knowing that, and where do these women live, work, and play, where you can Go to ChatGPT, go and put, or Claude, or Gemini, or Microsoft Pilot, and go and put your skill sets in, and then being able to draft some sort of just a and I'll put this as a resource to the business model canvas. So just do something like that where you've just put together all of your skills, put together the ways that you can potentially generate revenue, and then don't wait on trying to create a website, a fancy website or anything like that. Try to get to the money as quickly as possible. I feel like that was a really long answer, but I hope I hope that that kind of like speaks to how in this point, like where we are in this economy, where having one stream of revenue is not going to be enough, that you do need to look at potentially having some kind of side business, some kind of passive income, which really isn't passive because you got to do a lot of work up front to get to it being passive. But are there digital products that you can create? Can you support another business? And those just being some of the ways.
I just want to say thank you so much for that. And I want to say to those who are listening, this is a great opportunity to ask Liberty questions. Please ask your questions. I'm not sure exactly how much time we have left, but I would encourage you to put your questions in and ask your questions. You may not have an opportunity to get this information again, so you want to take advantage of getting these questions to Liberty. And so, can you talk about She Learns AI? What is it for those
Yeah.
who don't know?
Yes. So for those of you who aren't unfamiliar with She Learns AI, it really started as a challenge, just a challenge to both encourage and to really get women to take the intimidation out of you. Again, you hear artificial intelligence and you see it, you hear the doom and gloom, and to take the sting out of that and to create a safe space where our members, where our attendees are able to just figuring out how to use it either in their business or on the job. So we have products and programs like our AI confidence challenge, and then we've also, and as I think what I'm seeing on the screen, recently launched a beta program called the Inner Circle, and what the is creating a space where you can come ask your questions. Because what are some of the challenges that we have as whenever you're learning something new? It's that I don't want to sound stupid. I don't want to, can't ask that question. You're not sure. You've got the burning question, but you're not sure if that's the right question to ask. There's overwhelm from just all of the tools. It's in our feed, especially if you're on a platform like LinkedIn or like TikTok. It's in our feed 24/7, but feeling like you don't know where to begin or you don't know what to do next. And this is that space where you can come and our office hours, so once a week right now because we're in beta, because this is also for us to, as we're building this product for the community, having more frequent activities, events, and just within the community having our learning lounge. So there will be tutorials in there that then help to sharpen. Like, so during one of our last office hours, ChatGPT 5 came out. So going through agents and showing, hey, this is how, here's some ways that you're probably not even using ChatGPT and not maximizing how you can use it, but getting into agents. For those who have ever heard me before, know that I love me some Descript. Here's one of the tools that will help you to create content more efficiently. Because once you find this safe space and you hear other people asking similar questions, not only will you have a space of peer learning, but then it also breaks down. You said this earlier, Tony, with walls. It breaks down the walls so that you gain more confidence. So when you leave our community, or maybe you even have a question, something happened at work, and you put it in the community, we all give our input, I share some thoughts, and then now you go back into that environment with a little more confidence, a little more understanding so that you just don't feel like you're left out in the cold.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Our next question is, what advice do you have for parents as a parent who knows AI?
This is these are all great questions. I actually got had someone asking me this this week to speak to their youth group and just speaking to parents on the dangers of AI and social media. And some of the things that I am constantly sharing is one, the importance of you getting up to speed so that you just understand some of the challenges and things that your children might be getting into. There was a video I saw this week where it was just even literally being mindful of your environment. Because I always say, like, very mindful of what's around, because this digital native generation, they're so quick to always capturing, always posting. So even just some of that digital literacy, so that parents, the more digital literate you get, the more that you can help and monitor, because it really is, especially just depending on your child's age, monitoring what they're doing. My daughter, no, she doesn't have a phone yet, and she is on my case about getting a phone. But I tell her, it's like, I understand what is, what is out there. Even, and I would say too, as many students are in school, depending where you are in the world, potentially going back to school soon, but really working also on their critical thinking. So, um, my daughter is like, sometimes she'll ask me a question and I say, give me 1 minute. She's like, okay, I'll just ask Chat GPT. And, but I am also very intentional with, like, okay, wait, how are you going to figure this out? Because that critical thinking is, unfortunately, in the wrong hands, it will negatively impact our children if we're not still helping them navigate that realm. And if they're just constantly going to Chat GPT, there's a part of their mental development that's just not going to take place. So continue to monitor, continue to ask critical questions, helping them think through, because that's going to be one of the skills with all of this in the next 5+ years. Being able to think critically is going to be important. And then also distinguishing, helping them to figure out what's real. Like, I'm constantly saying to her, you've got to fact check, you've got to vet, because we're getting to a space and time where so much is being created, generated. There have been, I think I even saw Whoopi Goldberg on some kind of like diet video, and I know it wasn't her. I know it was AI. It happened to Gail, it happened to Oprah, it's happened to a lot of celebrities. So just helping them to just reinforce what's real, what's not, and helping them with the steps to figure those things out. Oh,
Wow.
and having a safe word. If you don't hear anything that I say in the 60-minute show, let it be this, that within your family, with your kids, to have a safe word. So that if someone calls, they're not familiar, somebody tries to communicate with them or pick them up, that sharing some scenarios where, well, what's the safe word, and that your family has a safe word, so that you're not, the scammers that are out there, that, and don't text that stuff, have a face-to-face verbal, so that they know. I picked up my a friend's child the other day. Everyone knew, the coach knew that I was someone who could, but she's like, okay, make sure you say the safe word. So she's practicing and instilling that in him, is, if they don't say the safe word, they don't get access.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. Please give us three examples of AI to use in the workplace.
Oh, yes. So one of my, and I'm confident that a lot of people are potentially already doing this, but also a way that you can just even level it up is using it as a research assistant. So most models now have deep research. which is just the ability just you so it's you're going beyond just a Google search. But if you are, let's say, one of the things again, just bringing going back to our inner circle, we've got like a persona that we constantly, this is what we share in just helping people figuring out how they can use these tools. So if you're a grant program manager, I know, Tony, that there are a lot of people in your audience that they are either in the nonprofit education realm or even as working, with grants or things like that. So being able to, how much time would you be able to save looking for grants or applying for programs and being able to, again, using any of your top three? I'm actually a fan of Notebook LM when it comes to those things, and that's a Google product where you put a repository of documents. So let's say you've gathered some research on the shift in houses of worship over the last 10 years, and you've downloaded. So I'll give you two case scenarios. So one where you're using something like um, a notebook LM, and you just could, you just upload all of your documents. The beautiful thing with using something like Notebook LM is that it is not generating. So we didn't get into this, but generative AI, where it needs a source in order, and the whatever the chatbot is, that it's trained on a certain amount of data and it's creating from that. What Notebook LM is doing, you have to give it something in order for it then to come up with whatever you then prompt. So that's one way you can do it, uploading your documents and then doing your own research from those documents. So we'll say that's number one. The second way then, excuse me, is, as I mentioned, using deep research, where it, again, all the platforms have it. But then now, if you are, let's say, fundraising for a grant, you then go in and give it some sort of prompt, asking it specifically, I'm looking for, give me the top 10, or actually a better way to do this, because it's one of the scenarios that we use, is giving it a program that, let's go with you, Tony, conversations with Tony Mobley, this is the audience you serve, and then now asking it to then research, go ahead and research certain grants, that then, so it's going to come up with a repository of all the grants that fit what the mission is of Conversations with Tony Mobley or your house of worship. So if you think about, because I'm also thinking what your audience, age wise, if you think about the times that we had to go to the library and all like pulling off the shelves and pulling all those books and going through all those files, think that was easily days and weeks of work, versus you being able to just have a prompt, putting that in, and then being able to have access to all of that data. Now you do still need to check if it hallucinates or it comes back with any errors, and you also want to vet that those tools are accurate. But things like that. Another way is just summarizing, thinking of your meeting notes, thinking, one of our favorite ways, and what we advise too, is taking the notes, your recordings, and then uploading it, and then getting it to then give you what are the action items that come out of the meeting. And in many ways, some of the tools already have that, like Zoom has that capability as well, where it gives you the synopsis. But you will probably have some more curated ways as well, that you have very specific things that you're looking for the data to provide you with. And I would say the third way is just looking at like data analysis. So you're looking at asking it to, again, whatever documents you either have, or if you're doing some kind of competitive analysis, giving it that information for it then to help synthesize the information so that you can then go and create some more informed decisions. So those are three ways.
Thank you so much for that. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of prompting?
Thank you, Tony, for phrasing it that way, because a number of people, and it just might be the whole AI fanatics and trailblazers, but they will say that prompt engineering is dead. And while to a degree, because we've shifted over the past number of years, we are very much so in agentic and um, where this is essentially once you've put the prompt in, that the agent does it on its own and it's autonomous as they say it. So it's doing the critical thinking and you still got to kind of go in and check it. But your ability, and to put it simply, prompting is just your ability to communicate a clear question to whatever the chatbot or the tool that you're using. And I would say that it is still extremely important because when you look at whatever tool, the Descripts of the world, the 11 Labs of the world, the pretty much every tool, you still have to give it some sort of instruction. So that is extremely important. And if you bear with me a moment, Tony, this
We can't hear you, Liberty.
okay, there we go. I'm sorry. I got a little bit too excited and then my microphone decided to go in a different direction. But I wanted to just a really simple takeaway for the community where I think I said this. I feel like I said this on office hours last summer potentially, but I came up with a methodology to just make it really simple. And there are frameworks out there to help you with prompting, but it's called the precise prompt engineering method. So when you think of just really easy, precise, you want to get specific, get a really good prompt. So this is PRECISE. Okay, move that up a little bit. Okay, there we go. So you want to make sure you stated your purpose clearly. So I want to create a document. Um, I want to design. Like, what is in you giving creating this prompt? What is it that you want it to do? So be very clear with that statement. Then your next thing is like, well, the relevance, and you don't always have to use every single step, but a really good prompt. And I've even vetted this against ChatGPT, OpenAI's prompting mythology. And it's funny, ChatGPT told me yours is a little bit more rigid. So I was actually quite proud of that. But just making sure that it's relevant what you're asking for it to do. Then your E is just giving it an example because I think one of the mistakes that people do is they've put this prompt out there, but remember the chatbot is learning as you are giving it instructions. So if you can give it an example of, here's an example of the kind of video script and paste a snippet of another script. And I always like to say, don't use that script, just look at it as a template that's helpful. Then what constraints? What should it not do? I do not put this in a table format. Do not what you don't want it to include, or just being very specific with it. And then the I, whatever additional instructions you need to give it. Instructions. I'm trying to do this first time because I see it going. The S, any specifics, and then the E is the what is the expected outcome that you have for it. So just that screenshot that, go back, pause it, screenshot it, and that just helping you to construct really deeply thought out, because the saying you've heard, like garbage in, garbage out.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm just curious, how did you share your writing on video? What was your
Oh, you mean
tool?
just now?
Just now.
Oh, I got a telestrator set up, so it's just I just left it on instead of like I would constantly take it on and off. It's like, yep, no, I've got this iPad down there, and then it just allows me to. Oh, and I'm using an ATEM, so I'm using a Blackmagic ATEM, ATEM Mini Pro, so that allows me to have that input and be able to have this as another device as an overlay.
Fantastic. Victor A. Hernandez says being present requires effort and can be invaluable. Thank you, Victor.
That's so true. Thank you, Victor.
What should everybody know about AI? What should everybody know about AI?
Everybody should know that there's good and there's not so good. There's really bad. How about that? Not even not so good. There's some really bad. So if that in not only just the days that we're living in, but just the need for even further guardrails. So I'm very cautious when teaching, when training to say, here's this new thing or here's this thing, but and making sure that there's some clear explanation of the but, because then you are giving it data, you're giving it information, without really thinking through the consequences. So it's good. It's where we are, so it's not going anywhere. It's not like all of a sudden we're going to wake up tomorrow and they've changed their minds and there's no longer any AI, which again is why we're such big advocates for people to learn to figure out how to use it, but then use it carefully. It is also impacting our environment, so just there's a need, and I'm seeing some of it happen, but there's a need for more policy. There's a need for even people to speak up so that we don't drive our world into the ground.
And I see on the in the YouTube chat that we have Florence saying, "Don't fear."
Yeah, that's really good, Florence. Yeah, don't fear.
Thank you, Florence, for that comment.
Be
Um,
curious. I like that. Like that's the our motif. Even when she learns it, like try it. Be curious, and making space for that.
Now that ChatGPT 5 is now available, and we've had some offline conversations about it, but I want you to share what your thoughts are about it.
I'm trying to put my PC hat on. Let me say this, that I am it's good. It's good, but I'm glad that they gave us back 4.0, because it's in many ways that um just what we were able to do with 4.0, it seems like 5 ChatGPT 5 is lacking in many ways. But in the same breath, there is also, again, going back to the possibilities and the things that you can do. I believe some of the statistics around it of just like, less hallucination, questionable, but but less hallucination, and then just what it facilitates your ability to now, they your agents interface like within the interface. I wish I had that ready to show, just some of the ways that you can use agents in there, as opposed to needing to go to N8N or some of the other tools. There's some limitations there, but so the Chat GPT 5 exciting, but
I will be transparent and say that when 4.0 was not available, I switched to Claude, and I got better results from Claude than I did from 5.0.
yeah,
I have not had an opportunity to re-embrace 5 yet, but I do have it, and I
okay,
am paying for it. So I'm going to give it some more attention.
okay.
You are speaking to the world. What do you want the world to know?
I'm speaking the world, and I want the world to know that they, it's possible. Like, possibility is all around us, and it's not always easy though. But there are opportunities, and it just takes a little extra effort, and that extra effort might not necessarily just be like some hours or some weeks. It might be some years, I look at the state of where artificial intelligence is, and there are so many people that I heard this saying, and I think it was is pretty good. Like people who have always been told to niche down and just pick one thing, but now the people who have various interests or who are really good generalists, those are some of the people who do really well in the space because they are able to adapt so quickly. So I want the world to know that no matter where you are right now, that there is more.
What's next for Liberty White?
What's next is catching up with you on YouTube, Tony. Do getting out and being, and I don't know what it is that just I think there were just so many other priorities, but really now sitting down and being consistent on YouTube and seeing where that takes, that takes She Learns AI, how many people were on a mission. I can't believe it is like we got 60 seconds left and I didn't even say this part of like we have a big mission to help upskill 1 million women. Like that is a
Yeah.
huge mission, and it's going to take different avenues. It's going to take partnerships. It's going to take sitting and talking, with conversations with Tony Mobley, so that people like, oh, let me go check it out and let me see what I can learn. And so that's why part of why we have the community is so that we can also do a better job of just tracking how many people we've been able to train and to upskill.
And unfortunately, that's our last question, but I'm going to put this question out there. I really, really wanted to ask you, we ran out of time, but I really wanted to ask you about faith and AI. And we're out of time. So
I guess I'll just have to come back, won't I?
that is what I'm thinking, that we can have a conversation just about how AI can be used as in house to worship, and what that really means in the 21st century. I have had a lot of people that have pushed back and forth on different points of the spectrum in terms of the use of it in houses of worship, and some people feel as though it should not be used, and we should maintain our traditional ways, and at the same time, well, we're not going to go into all those kind of things. So thank you, Liberty,
Thank you,
so
Tony.
much
Thank you.
for being here tonight. And I am amazed always when we have an opportunity to share in a conversation. This has been extremely meaningful for me. I got a lot out of it, and I'm sure that our audience got a lot out of it as well. You can watch Conversation with Tony Mobley on YouTube or my website, conversationwithtonymobley.com. Conversation with Tony Mobley is produced by Value Audio Visual Professionals who meet daily in office hours, hosted by Alex Lindsay. We want to thank office hours for their continued support. Thank you, Mimo Live. We have conversations with real people. Stay tuned for new episodes and great conversations. Conversation with Tony Mobley. If you have time, we ask that you go back and look at the 100 plus, near 200 plus, 200 conversations with Tony Mobley. And we want to thank everyone for their support. Um, we think that if you look at those past conversations, that you might find something that's helpful and meaningful. Conversation with Tony Mobley would like to thank you, Liberty White, for being a part of this conversation today, for doing the work that you do, and for being the person who you are. So next week, and Liberty, you might want to try to come back for this, we're going to have a conversation about AI bias. That's right. We're going to have a conversation about AI bias. And the question might be, how can AI be biased? Come next week and find out. We want to thank each and every one of you for continued support of Conversation with Tony Mobley. If you want to financially support us, we ask that you go to our website. And on our website page, you will see an option to donate, one-time donation, or you can make a monthly donation if you choose. We also are looking for people to support us in our infrastructure. So if you're interested in learning how we do this show, the tools that we're using, feel free to join us, and you can share your name and number, and we'll get back to you. And so we want to say good night and good evening to everyone. Take care. God bless you. See you soon.